You know when you're a really big fan of something, but by being a fan of something, you end up like you feel like you're being pressured into liking another kind of related thing that you aren't that into, you know? Um so for me personally, I really really like fighting games, especially Smash Bros. I know they're not real tournament fighting games, but I've loved them. But I'm not a big fan of raping children, which puts me at odds with what seems to be the majority of the prominent figures in the Super Smash Bros. Community. It's a cultural difference between me and them. This is insane. This isn't even the half of it. Um, this is just from a day ago, and more has come out since then. Summary of sexual and non-sexual allegations in the Smash community mega thread in alphabetical order. Holy shit. This is just Smash Bros. The entire fighting game community has been lighting up with this. What I talked about just a few days ago with like the Twitch Me Too stuff, this is 1,000 times as big as that. It is insane how much is going on here. And now I should say, and I want to be perfectly clear, all of these are allegations, with the exception of freelancer Leo, who seems to have just done a confession. So I respect that. I mean, when I was 18, I groomed a 13-year-old into explicit sexual messages. Well, there we go. That takes the ambiguity out of it. Thank you, but don't do that again, please. Um, there were other people who confessed. Listen. A lot's been going on, and I want to talk about this because I'm actually disgusted. In my humble personal opinion, is Mewtwo there? Mewtwo is not there. Also not here. Alpharad. Also not here. Little Z. Okay. In case anyone has any particular YouTube faves that they're looking to see vindicated. Zero. Zero is here. Katie's story. I can take a look if you like. Listen, as long as Precious Boy Alpharad and Precious Boy Sonic Fox are both in the clear, which they both are, everything is fine. Listen, we have to talk about this, folks. This Me Too shit is going way too far. Okay, I've had it up to here with all the raping. Can we cut this out for a second, please? Listen, we need to talk about gamers. What the fuck is up with gamers? Why are all of you rapists? Why are all of you pedophiles? Why? Except me. I want to open this by, I guess, doing a little bit of a personal admission. Now, right now, the entire fighting game community is being lit up with these allegations. Again, and I need to stress, very important. These are allegations. Statistically speaking, some of the people who have been accused probably have had false allegations levied against them. If you're a large public figure, you are more likely to attract false allegations than you are as a random layperson. However, I think the majority of these are probably fairly substantial. I took a look over a lot of them before stream. Obviously, again, innocent until proven guilty, but with this many allegations coming out, there's a problem. Now, I want to sort of preclude this with my involvement in the fighting game community. I'm the best Smash player. You'll never see me play Smash because I feel bad for everyone else, and I don't want the fighting game community to be made aware of my overwhelming power level. I am with Smash Ultimate. I am a King K. Rool boy personally, as well as a villager, not Isabelle, villager. I didn't play Smash Wii U that much. I didn't have time during Brawl. I was the Wario player. There was no better Wario player. Nobody on Earth was a better Wario player than myself. I never even touched the ground with how often I was motorbiking across the screen. I never even touched the ground, okay? I was never off my motorbike. Before that, in Super Smash in Super Smash Bros. Melee, I was a big old Marth fan, and Link as well, and going back prior, I was a Mario player when I was just a wee baby, going back all the way back to the original Smash Bros. Now, I love Smash Bros. I do. It's one of the best party games ever, in my opinion. And I think it's a damn good competitive game as well. And because through my interest, I am I think, a little bit more emotionally involved in these allegations than I was with the ones involved in Twitch. It's actually very saddening to me to see this. And again, I should stress this is not just the Smash community. This seems to be happening across the entirety of the fighting game community. But I wanted to talk about why all gamers are rapist pedophiles. Except me, obviously. I thought maybe we could talk about why this keeps happening. I think it's important for us to talk about this. Now, and I'm being serious. You think I'm joking? This keeps happening. And there are reasons why this happens. At Smash tournaments, what you get is a massive range of people of various ages coming together, in many cases for younger people to idolize, get autographs from, and spend time with their older and far more influential parasocial icons. These tournaments, conventions, whatever, are a very dangerous place to be for a young person. Now, I've never been to a Smash tournament in person, but I have been to Anime Expo many times. And I'll tell you what happens at Anime Expo every single year. Anime has a very wide age range of fans. There are people who love anime who are 13, and there are people who love anime who are 30. And I think both of those communities are wonderful and valid. I am 26. When I am 30, I will still love anime. When I am 40, I will probably still like anime, though my tastes may change. Here's what happens at Anime Expo every single year. Oh, and BronyCon as well. Any community that has a wide age range. People of various ages go there. Very often, there are people there who are older, who have influence and power that they do not have elsewhere in the world. A prominent figure in an anime community is a nobody elsewhere in life, but here they are kings and queens. So they come to these places and they revel in their fandom and their attention and their power and their influence. The exact same thing would happen to me. If I went to VidCon or Politicon, I would be getting stopped every 30 seconds at this point. That is influence I have there, which does not exist when I am going out to go get fucking groceries or whatever, you know? The issue is, in these communities, in Anime Expo, in BronyCon, in the fighting game communities, there is very little oversight to manage the interactions between younger and older people. And that leads to some very dangerous outcomes. I have personally heard stories of people who were groomed, young people who were groomed at Anime Expo. I didn't go to Anime Expo until I was 18, but I knew of people who went when they were younger. And right now, we are looking at a bevel of accusations of people who were groomed at these fighting game conventions by, in many cases, older, more prominent figures here. And I want to talk about why they do it. Why do these gamers, why do these anime figures, why do all of these people do what they do? If I sound like I'm being sympathetic to them here, I apologize. I'm really not trying to be. But I think it's important to understand why they do what they do. Same when I'm like, hey, why does a Nazi do what they do? Like, well, usually they have a sense of disempowerment concerning their feelings of emasculation. They usually weren't that successful socially, so they want to turn towards excuses for why they are the way they are. And when some communities are telling them that it's multiculturalism, feminism, and like Jews, that the reason why they can't get laid, they'll tend to adopt that over being introspective, so on and so forth. When you are a professional gamer, you usually start pretty young. There are very, very few professional fighting game players who start when they're like 35. That generally does not happen. The pro gaming scene is pretty young in general. That's because our Zoomer neurons are the only neurons capable of keeping up with the high demands and rigors of professional gaming, such is truth. I remember the drama. I remember like back in the StarCraft 2 community, back when that was a real thing, the old players were like 30. Like these were like the ancient boomers, you know? Whatever the case is. These people tend to start young. And I don't know if you've ever been usually a young man, usually a young man who's obsessed with video games. It doesn't tend to pay out with that much pussy. That's generally speaking. Now, obviously, there are exceptions. There's nothing about gaming that is literally a repellent to sexual, attraction. But very often, that does tend to be the case, especially when you dedicate your life to it, which you have to if you want to get this good. As time progresses, you get better, and eventually you get good enough that you're able to participate in tournaments and you are able to get your name out there. You get some publicity. Very often, these people start live streams or YouTube channels, and they get fame. And they don't get fame usually for their social skills, they get fame for their incredible performance at these games. And what happens when you get famous? Well, a lot of things, but I'll short it for you. People start wanting to fuck you. Like a lot of people. It doesn't matter if you're attractive. It doesn't matter if you're uncharismatic. If you have influence, if people look up to you, if people admire you, there will be people who want to fuck you. This is just a fact of the matter. This is just what happens. Now, this isn't always a bad thing. In fact, as somebody who gets that attention too, I like waking up, looking at my Discord notifications. They want to fuck, they want to fuck, they want to fuck, and ignoring all of you. Sorry, I'm oof. You're just you couldn't handle me. Now, the responsible thing to do in my position here is to simply let it slide off of me like water off of a window pane. But the reason I'm capable of doing that is because I'm actually not super fucking desperate. But some people are. If you've spent your entire life sort of sacrificing your social competence for video game talent, and now suddenly your video game talent is getting you the attention that you missed out on when you were younger, that can be a very intoxicating feeling. Think about it. All through high school, everyone ignored you. Early college, everyone ignored you. But now you're 20, you're 21, and you're unironically getting messages just from strangers, like sending you nudes or telling you they want to fuck. That is a very weird feeling to people, very often, especially if they haven't had that. That's not a weird feeling to most women. I should clarify. Y'all motherfuckers have been getting that since you were 13. Sorry. That is a very strange feeling to a lot of guys. Sorry, just to clarify. Very, very strange feeling. And for a lot of these people, and, just being frank, the temptation is just too much for them to bear. So usually what will happen is that these people will be saddled with a bunch of sexual attention that they've never had before in their lives. They'll go to these conventions and meetups where they know they're going to be going to people who will be sexually interested in them, and they will, very often take advantage of that interest. Sometimes those people are over 18, or over 17, I guess, 18 or over. Often they're not. There are a lot of correlative factors that go into this, though, and I want to be a little bit more specific. So, am I making any apologia for this? I'm definitely not. But I think it's important to understand these mentalities. Because not all of these accusations right here are just, we went to a con and we fucked even though she was 15. A lot of them involve grooming. A lot of them involve, rape. Like, not statutory rape, but, the traditional, rape. The classic rape, TM. So what happens there? Well, unfortunately, in addition to the attention starvation that tends to accompany a lot of these people's early lives, a lot of these figures who are prominent in the gaming community, there is also a series of, what's the right way to put this without sounding like an armchair psychologist? I think a lot of men frame their masculine success through the ability to interact with women in a very specific and very controlling way. For a lot of men, it's not enough to just have women wanting to have sex with you. It's about the cat and mouse game of being able to extract sexual interest from people who otherwise would not be interested in it. Have you ever heard of the phenomenon of men who complain they have to do all the initiating with women, but then when the women actually initiate at them, they get put off? It's as though they're only comfortable with sexual engagements if they have the power, not only in a social sense, but the power in the prepositional or proposed sense, like they have the power with regards to who initiated the interaction. I think that's a really, really common thing for a lot of young men. Is it stupid? Oh yeah, it's really fucking stupid. I'm not saying this is a good thing. It remains very stupid. But now we add a little bit more. Okay, let's say you're like an 18-year-old guy and you're getting saddled with a bunch of sexual attention, but there are some people who are cuter than others to you. I mean, that happens, you know. And you realize you're not actually that interested in pursuing people who are making it easy for you. This is a really common thing, you know, like, oh, she made it too easy. Like, you know, she was too open. She was too easy. You want to fight a little bit for it. You want to push for it a little bit. Because in pushing for it, you're proving the worth of the sex of the person that you're looking to have sex with. If it's easy for you to get, that must mean that it didn't mean much. If you have to fight for it, it must have been more worthwhile. Again, these are deeply antiquated and very stupid fucking ways of looking at sex, but I legitimately believe that most people have very stupid and antiquated opinions when it comes to sex, or at least preferences. And in this case, this is like a cocktail for disaster, you know? So now we're not only talking about the potential for engaging sexually with underage people, we're also talking about a psychological impetus to groom some of those people into those sexual encounters. Now, mind you, there is nothing inherently wrong in concept with trying to woo somebody. If there's a person who's not interested in you, but you're interested in them, there's nothing wrong with being frank about your feelings, talking about that with them, you know, maybe like, you do that basically. Ooh. And maybe you could, you know, move them over. Maybe. You have to be respectful about it, of course, obviously. But that's when there's not a weird power dynamic between the two of you. This is just my personal opinion, but if you're a content creator with a lot of social power, you should never, under any circumstances, ever contribute even a quarter of a fraction of a percent of like I guess convincing to a person with regards to whether or not they want to fuck you. Not even slightly. If either if you like never, you should just if there's a fan, you should never ever be like, yeah, we should fuck. Like, oh, you don't want it? You should never do that, in my opinion. There are way too many weird power dynamics to fuck around with there. It can get real dicey real quick, okay? Listen, it's a threshold for how many concurrent viewers you have on Twitch, okay? Listen, if you're down to like 20 concurrent viewers, maybe like a little bit, but once you get past 37 is the gold number, okay? Once you're past 37 average concurrent viewers, you can't do it, all right? So now we have underage and grooming. But there's one more factor here, okay? One more factor here that we really need to, I'm way over 37. Actually, technically I'm at 0 because I'm not on Twitch anymore, but I am well over 37 at this time, so I'm holding by my own standard. You're welcome. Now, one last thing. There is, amongst these allegations, it's not just underage and grooming. Like I said, there's also rape. And now we get, I think, to the least relatable component of the behaviors which lead people to act in the way they do. So this is going to astonish some of you. Some people are rapists. I know. And some of those people also play video games. I know. I'm not of the opinion that being a rapist is something that's just in your head, like it's a gene. I think it's a product of a lot of environmental factors that go into the decision-making process of a rapist that lead them to engage in the behavior they engage in. When it comes to these conventions, for example, the presence of drugs and alcohol, and whoo boy, is there a lot of drugs and alcohol at these places if you know where to get them. The presence of drugs and alcohol can be an incredibly intoxicating social lubricant for people who are otherwise socially incompetent as fuck. If you spend 18 hours a day sitting on a couch playing Smash, perfecting your wave dashing, and then you have to go to a fucking convention, it can be extremely tempting to just saddle yourself with as many intoxicants as possible to make things easier. But you know what's even easier socially than saddling yourself with intoxicants? Saddling other people with them. The more shit-faced other people are, the easier it is to control your interactions with them. Absolutely. So a lot of these socially incompetent people will turn to the presence of drugs and alcohol as a way of mitigating and managing their social interactions with other people there, many of whom are underage people and many of whom are people that they've groomed, intentionally or unintentionally. I don't think a lot of these people deliberately think they're like being a pedophilic groomer. But for those of them that I guess do, there are people predatory enough there to just rape, just like not like no bar none, not like oh she was too drunk, just full on 100% like okay fuck it, I don't care if they consent. You know, there are people who are just like that. I think the reason they're like that is in large part, and I guess I'm going to throw all the shade that I have built up from this conversation out right now, because the fighting game community is a toxic circle jerk full of like failed men who have absolutely no social skills, and the only way they can feel masculine is by shit talking people after three stalking them. So the only times they can ever feel like they've accomplished anything even remotely parallel to what their parents expected of them is when they're engaging in predatory behavior with women. I do believe that. Like I believe that very sincerely. A lot of these people are deeply insecure. They failed socially. They know the only thing they have going for them is their ability to press buttons on a controller in a very specific pattern, and the only chance they're ever going to get at having any kind of massive sexual rockstar gratification is by abusing and manipulating the people that are around them, either unintentionally or intentionally, and that a lot of people get hurt because of this. This is not just the gaming community. This is every single fucking isolated, like, predominantly male interest community. This happens at BronyCon. This happens at all the anime expos. This happens at furry conventions, though to the credit of furries, it happens less there because those people tend to be more educated and more insular in their communities, which helps them safeguard against predators. Fair bit to them. Fursuits look weird, never going to take that away. However, fair bit to them. These gaming conventions and fighting game communities, and TwitchCon, and all of these other places where men who are prominent and socially respected, but also incompetent and not sexually experienced, can get together with legions of fans. These communities are a hotbed for sexual abuse, a massive fucking hotbed for sexual abuse. And the only thing that we can do to stop this is to fucking pay attention. I said this with the Shane Dawson thing, and I'm going to say this again, all right? Every single one of these, I'm sorry, I'm being a little bit hyperbolic here, okay? Most of these took place in the presence of other people at some point or another. When these girls were led off to whatever bedroom, there were other people there who saw that. There were other people there who could have stopped that. A lot of these incidents seem to take place at people's houses. I saw Sky Williams' house come up a few times in this, and I know for a fact that if the other people who were at least nominally present for these engagements had been more vigilant, they could have stopped some of this from happening. I think a lot of these people just don't care. I think a lot of these people just see like, whatever, they're having fun, whatever, dude, you know, everyone's getting drunk, you know, everyone's got the mollies out, whatever, people are going back to the bedroom, I don't care, whatever. And I don't think these people care. I think they just turn a blank eye to it. Because you know what's really difficult? Putting a hand on the shoulder of somebody who gets 6,000 viewers concurrent on Twitch, looking them in the eye and saying, I'm not letting you rape that 16-year-old girl that you have your arm around right now. That does take credit where credit is due. That takes a lot of gumption, okay? That takes some effort to do. But you should do it anyway. Who's Sky Williams? It's a prominent YouTuber. Jesus, just Google Sky Williams. But you should do it anyway, okay? Hot damn props to anyone who's ever done that. There are people who have done that, and that's why this list isn't longer, because those stories don't get written. We don't know how often that happens, because those stories don't get written. Didn't Destiny stop a rape? I think I remember hearing that one time, that he stopped something like that. Yeah, when you're at conventions, if you see like drunk as shit people being pulled away, you know? Here, okay, hot tips. If you're going to conventions, let me help you out. First of all, if you see somebody who's drunk as fuck getting pulled away by another person towards like a bedroom, you should maybe like you should be like, hey, where are you guys going? Even if it's super fucking awkward, just fucking do it, okay? What would you rather do? Have an awkward social interaction that you could then blur out of your mind with the next drink you take, or live the rest of your life wondering whether or not you might have been able to stop a rape but didn't because you were too socially awkward? Hot question, whatever you prefer. Secondly, okay, we should probably maybe be a little bit more skeptical about the ages of some of these people at events, okay? Holy shit. And by the way, If you're an adult gamer, if you're an adult like industry professional and you just invite a bunch of people to your house party and some of their plus ones are literal underage girls, you need to boot those people the fuck out, okay? Holy shit. If I had a fucking house party where I got drugs and alcohol and shit, and I'm like, yeah, you can come, yeah, you're really good with Kirby, yeah, go get on, and they bring over and I see a literal fucking sophomore high schooler under the arm of one of these older men, you are not coming into my fucking house, okay? Why do we let this happen? Yeah, why did you bring your daughter here? Why did you, I'm sorry, why did this, you dragged this fetus here from the maternity ward at the local hospital, okay? Yeah, if you see somebody who looks like they're in distress or that they might be getting coerced or something like that, you got to pull them apart. Okay, you got to find an opportunity to talk to them. If you see like it's mostly girls. This can happen to boys too, but it's mostly girls. When you see like a girl who looks like really young and out of place, kind of drunk or something, find an excuse to talk to them. Just be like, hey, are you okay? If they're being armed over by someone else, be like, hey, can I talk to this person for a second? If they're super weird and defensive about it, then that's a really good red flag right there. Because here's a hot take. If somebody comes up to you, a person you're with, and says, hey, can I talk to you really quick? And you're like really defensive, like, hey, what the fuck, dude? That's usually a good indication that you probably don't want other people talking to that person, okay? So, yeah, just be vigilant, be careful. The funny thing is, a lot of women already do this amongst each other. Yeah, because women know what it's like. Women like actually understand this. But guys have to do it too. It's not enough, especially since guys tend to have the power in these events. That's not sufficient, okay? At what point is it practical/reasonable to call the police in this situation? Hey, here's a hot take, okay? If you're at a fucking house party and you have a feeling there are multiple underage people there doing drugs and getting drunk and like hooking up with older people, fuck it, leave the party and call the police. Absolutely, fuck them. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, fuck them. Who cares? I don't care. If it was a party worth keeping, that they shouldn't have been allowing underage people in there to fuck the older people. That's not snitching, motherfucker, okay? That's just justice being done, all right? That'd be like, say, is it snitching to call the police on a rape? Is that snitching? Like if you see a rape happening in an alley and you're like, hey, 911, there's a literal fucking rape happening. And the rapist is like, bro, what the fuck? Snitch. Nah, come on. Listen, this is one of the very few times I'll actually advocate. Yeah, bro, really? Yeah, like, come on. Bro. Hassan would say that. Yeah, anyway. Yeah, so that's my recommendation, yeah. And hey, listen, and that should be an impetus too. That's my hot take, all right? If you, as a party runner, don't want police called in your party, don't let little girls get raped. I know it's a really tough bar. I know it's really difficult. It hurts. Oh, God, we have to prevent rape from I know, right? Jesus. Anyway, fuck me, dude. Long story short, I don't know how many of these allegations are legit. I would imagine most of them are. I mean, I looked through a lot of them. The odds of all of them or most of them being completely made up is pretty fucking low, especially since many of these people have already fucking confessed. But yeah, to everyone else there, okay, here's my hot tip, all right? Hey, listen. Find people who are over 18 and make sure they actually want to fuck you. Okay? It's not hard. It's really genuinely not hard. That's it. Okay? If they really want to fuck you, they shouldn't need to be drugged out of their fucking mind. Okay? You're all professionals in a popular gaming community. You should be able to find some adults who want to fuck. Okay? I'm not even going to talk about the power dynamics of fucking fans right now, okay? If we can just pull these guys off of rape and pull these guys off of children, I think that's like a huge step up. If we can, no grooming, no rape, no children. There. Huge, but right there. Up to the ceiling, okay? Huge improvement. Low bar. I am setting a very low bar, but they are consistently tripping at this bar. So yeah, we set right there.